Thank you all very much for joining us today. I am always delighted to see people attend the Gradebook workshops. We offer them at the beginning and the end of each term. And so sometimes I think no one's going to show up. But the truth is that if you come to one of these Gradebook workshops, we offer two. Well, actually, we offer three. One is basics, one is Gradebook management, and then the third is tips and tricks. Tips and tricks is going to cover everything and assume some basic knowledge. The basics, what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover how do you build your gradebook and how do you grade. And then in management, we cover how do you work with all of the different like policies and assigning grades and learning metrics and things like that. So again, very happy to see you because I think that the information that we have to share with you will make your lives easier in terms of managing your courses and using the gradebook. Today, we're going to talk about how do you build your gradebook in Canvas and also how do you grade. So once you get underway, what are the tools available to you that are integrated with the gradebook to help you do grading. So the first thing that I like to share with people, and this is the top tip as well, it's the top tip for all of Canvas. This is something that if you understand this about Canvas, your lives will be easier. And that is that the major tools in Canvas are all integrated. They work together. And they work together in pretty specific ways that are designed to really help you, to be of service to you in so many ways. If you don't understand the integration, then it's very tempting to think that Canvas is out to get you, because you'll do something in one part of Canvas, and then Canvas will do something that is in response to what you've done. That is designed to help you. If you don't know about it, then again, you're wondering what is happening with Canvas. If you do know about it, then you're able to leverage that, and that's where we want you to be. So here you see an image that shows you that the assignments tool and the course calendar are connected. What this means is that whenever you enter a date into a form field inside of Canvas, that date will automatically be part of the calendar. Okay, you can also enter some things, add events, assignments. They're just shells of assignments, the name of the assignment and the date in the calendar. And when you do that, then you're also creating that assignment shell inside of Canvas. Okay. At the same time, when you add an assignment in Canvas, Canvas is building the gradebook for you. And I'm going to demonstrate that today. When you add an assignment in Canvas, it also shows up in your syllabus, which is dynamic. The advantage to having all of these tools integrated, including the communication, you'll see there's a speech bubble behind everything in this image. That's because whenever you do any of these things in Canvas, Canvas is also communicating that thing to your students. And so this integration, again, it's designed to help you. And the advantage to it is that whenever, for example, you add due dates in an assignment throughout the term, if during the term you need to change a due date, you can go into the assignment, change that date, and then Canvas will automatically update that date for you in the calendar, in the syllabus, and in the messaging to your students. So this integration, again, it's critical to making the very best use of Canvas. And so I always like to begin with this. This is the major tip to everything that happens in Canvas. Specifically now, the gradebook. We're going to talk about how building an assignment is essentially building your gradebook. And I will show you that. And I'm going to go into a live course shell. You could follow along in your own Canvas course shell to see how some of these things work. It won't be exactly the same as what I'm doing, but it could be beneficial. So I encourage you to do that if you have a Canvas course shell that you can open up and look at. All right, so here we are in a standard course shell. I've opened it up, it opens up to home. We're going to spend time in assignments and in gradebook. Okay, here is the assignments index page. When you click on the assignments, you come to an index page. It's essentially a table of contents page. It's quite boring in that way, but it's just the guide to all of the assignments that are in the class, okay, as a list. And of course, I've added things in here to demonstrate what we're doing today. So the first thing that I want to show you is how you build your gradebook. And the way that you build your gradebook is to create assignments. There are three major kinds of assignments that we're going to look at today. The first is your generic assignment that you build in the assignments area. Okay, that's what you build here. You also in Canvas have a discussions tool and a quizzes tool. And so you can create discussions, make them graded, and they will also then become assignments. And the same is true for quizzes. You can have a quiz that's an exam or a quiz that's high stakes, low stakes, but graded. Once you do that, the quizzes will also be part of the assignments. Your assignments, when you build an assignment, the way that you build it, the way that you set the settings will tell Canvas's gradebook how to grade the assignment, how to be a part of the gradebook that you're building. Everything that you do in the assignments and on the assignments index page is reflected in the gradebook. And so I want to show you that. I tried to set it up to show you side by side, but the sharing in Zoom didn't quite work the way that I wanted. So I'm going to be flipping back and forth between the assignments index page and the gradebook. So here's your index page. Look at what you have. Assignments, A1, P1, P2, P3, and a wiki assignment. These first four are all published. You can see that with the green check mark. This one is not published, and you can see that with that circle. Now let's look at the gradebook. Go to gradebook. From left to right, I have, well, first I have my students. Then I have A1, P1, P2, P3, and an unpublished wiki assignment. I also have a column for assignments, and I have a totals column. So you can see that this, even though it's a grid format, reflects what's going on over here in assignments. Okay, they're connected, they're integrated. So in order to have a gradebook column, something that you're going to put a grade into in Canvas, you have to have an assignment. Okay, so let's talk about first how you set up an assignment. You would go over here to plus assignment. As I said, to speed things along, I've already developed them, but we're gonna look at the details of an assignment. So I hit plus assignment, and what I will get is this page. All right. So at the top of this page, I have the title, the assignment title. I really recommend not using a title like A1. I've done that for you today so that we can see things quickly and easily, but it's very important to have a title that describes actually what's going on here. If I were to take this set of assignments and copy them into a new course, I could risk replacing them with generic titles. So create a specific title name. So first you have the title, then you have your directions. These are things like the details of the assignment that you want students to know about. Anytime you have a text box like this that's open, Canvas is telling you this is where you can give information to your students. Okay. This could also be links to readings, could be images, could be links to other parts of the course. So you can really use this to give your students the information that they need to successfully complete the assignment. Below this text box is where you have the settings. These settings are going to tell the gradebook and other parts of Canvas how to function, how to work properly. So let's go through them. The first is the value of the assignment, the number of points that you're going to give that students can earn by completing the assignment. The second is the assignment group, and we will talk about that, but I'm going to skip over that for the moment. The third is how you display the points. This is a very important set of options here because you're telling Canvas how you want the grade book to calculate the grade. So do you want it to be by points? Do you want it to be by percentage? Do you want it to be a complete or incomplete? So if it's complete, in this case, students would earn 100 points if they complete it. If it's incomplete, they would earn 0 points. Okay. Do you want to set up letter grades? That's a little bit more complicated, as is the GPA scale, but you can do it. Okay. What's most important in this list is not graded. And the reason that that's important is because Canvas gives you the option to have something, an assignment that's set up with due dates. We scroll to the bottom of this, we have due dates that is not graded. If you have something that's not graded, then it won't be in your grade book. So you can use the assignments to create activities, things that you want students to complete. You want to give them information about how to do it. So the best one I can think of is reading. So you can have a reading activity. You can tell students what they need to read up here. You could even provide readings for them up here, and you can tell them when it's due, but not grade the actual reading. You could have a quiz about the reading that you grade, but you're not going to actually grade the reading. So you can use the assignments tool to create an assignment that's not graded. With that said, you also need to create an assignment for something that doesn't ask students to do anything. And the best example of that is class participation. Let's just say that you wanted to give your students a grade at the end of the term related to how well they participated in class. That's not a specific assignment, but in order to get that done inside of Canvas, you will have to create an assignment. You could call it class participation. You could give it a number of points, and you would not have a due date with it. So that's a case where this becomes important, because you want to get your assignment into the gradebook, but without necessarily having students submit anything. Okay, so submitting things is part of the whole gradebook and assignment function. So we're not going to keep this class participation, but just know in the back of your mind you can do that. This is still assignment A1. Okay, so this assignment is an essay assignment, and I'm going to want students to turn in an essay. So here is the submission type area, and I need to tell Canvas what to expect. So I have online submissions. I also have on paper submissions, and I have external tool submissions. So on paper would be if we were face-to-face, then you could set your assignment and say to your students by selecting on paper, I want you to bring it to class with you. That's an on paper submission. And Canvas will let your students know that they need to submit it that way. If you had a textbook supplement, then you would find that textbook supplement like Macmillan or Pearson, something like that. You would find that here, and you would set it's only the first thing that you need to do. It's not the only thing that you need to do, but you do need to set your submission type for this assignment that's going to be from Pearson or Macmillan to external tool. Okay. You can also have no submission. This is what you would use if you were doing a class participation assignment. So you know you need your gradebook column. Remember over here, you need your gradebook column for class participation, but students aren't going to be submitting anything. And so you would say no submission. Okay. The most common type of submission is going to be online. And you can see you have choices here: text entry, website, media, file. I'm going to choose file upload because this is an essay. And you'll notice, I want you to see this, I had this set to website. Okay, watch what happens down here when I choose file upload. I'm going to turn this one off, file upload, and you get the plagiarism review. So this is a change in Canvas. Now, when you want to submit a file to be reviewed for originality, to make sure that it's not somebody else's paper or that it's not plagiarized from some other source, when you choose file upload or text entry, you will get the plagiarism review, and this is where you would select turn it in. Okay, so we're not going to go over that in detail, but that's where you do this. Okay. All right, I'm just going to select file entry, and I'll just turn this off for now. Okay, and then submission type or submission attempts. I mean, you can set a limited number of submissions or you can make it unlimited. By default, students can submit as many times as they want. You'll get a date recording with that, but that's how that's set up. All right, group assignment. This is kind of deep, as is peer review. We're not going to go into those features. But if you have an assignment that is a group assignment, you do need to select it here. What you want to do if you have a group assignment is create your groups first. And then once you've created your groups, then create your assignment and make sure that it's a group assignment. Okay. We can talk about these things at another time. Sometimes we have workshops related to this, but we can provide you with guides or individual consultations on group assignments or on peer review. The last part that I want to cover here in the assignment settings is the assignment due date and the assign to. So these are together, and they're together because you can set separate due dates. On the assign to, the default is assign this to everyone. But there are instances, such as a student joining your class late, for example, like next week sometime, where you might need to create an assignment that's to an individual. Okay, now what I want to warn you about if you do that is that you should click plus add, because you want the assign to be to everyone in the class, and the date that it's due today, for example, January 11th. Okay, but next week you might have Kathy join late, so you set her up individually and you can give her a different due date on the 20th. Okay, so that's why you have assigned to. You can do, if you have a cross-listed course, you can have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday submission date and a Tuesday, Thursday submission date. So there are a number of different reasons why you might want to separate this out from the default, which is everyone. Just know that when you do, the correct way to do it is to do plus add, so that you can add that separate due date. Okay, so that's the assign to. Now let's talk about the due dates. You have your due date. You also have an available from date and an available until date. The way that this works is that, and the reason that it's set up, is that in some instances, you may choose not to accept late work. Okay, if you choose not to accept late work, then your due date has to match the until date. And so what Canvas is saying to you and to your students is, this assignment is due today, and you must turn it in by the end of today. If you don't, then you won't be able to submit it tomorrow. Okay, the assignment's only available until 11:59 today. So if you don't accept late work, then this is the configuration that you need. If you do accept late work, then, but you have a limit, in other words, you accept late work, but only 4 days, okay? So you can set it up so that the assignment's due today, and you'll accept it until Friday. So after today, Canvas in the gradebook will mark this assignment as late if you submit it, and it'll keep track of how many days late. Okay, it will record for you that it's late, and it will show you in the gradebook. And at Friday at 11:59, or at 12 o'clock p.m. Friday, if a student hasn't turned in the work yet, then that assignment will be missing. Okay, and students won't be able to submit after that date. If you choose not to put a date here at all, then what Canvas understands is that you'll accept this assignment that's due today. You'll accept it until the end of the term. So the default grade here when it's blank is the last day of the term. The date here, if it's blank, is the first day of the term, which is today. So you can also decide, I don't want to start accepting this assignment until next Monday, and you could set that date, and that would be the available from date. Now students won't see this. They won't, and they'll see it, but they won't be able to submit work until next Monday, okay, at 12 a.m. And then again, the until date, you can set that. So that's how it works. It would not allow me to do this because I haven't changed the due date. So I'd have to change the due date to be within the available from and the available until date. I'm going to go ahead and not have an available from date and set this so that it's due today. And I'm saying to my students, this assignment's due today. I will not accept late work. And I'll save that. Okay. When I'm done, I get this summary page right here. This is very similar to what your students see. They see that they have this assignment, they see the directions, they see the points, how it should be submitted, and the due date, along with the available until date. So this is the assignment summary. Okay. So here it is in the gradebook, A1. I've got a link to it. It shows me how much it's worth. The rest of the way that Canvas functions with this assignment will be based on how I set it up. Okay. I'm going to move on to the groups. Okay. On the assignments index page, what you see at the top is assignments. And you can see that there's a little bit of a shading there. And it looks like a box, and everything is in this box. Okay. This is a group, this assignments. If you look at the grade book, you'll see over here, let's just put a grade in here. We'll say that Frank did P1 and got a 100% on it. Now you'll see over here, the total, Frank's grade is 100%. He's getting an A. You also see that there's this assignments column and it's 100% also. And if you don't really know what this is, it's going to track, it's going to keep doing things. If he gets a 50 on this next assignment, he's getting a 75%. That's the average of those two grades. So it's always the average, the total is based on everything that's done progressively. Okay, so it doesn't start at 0. He got 100, he got an A. The next assignment, he got a 50. He's now on average earning a C. And this is happening in the assignments area as well. But you might think, well, why is this happening here? I've got it happening here. I don't need it twice. And you might be tempted to think this is a wasted column. I'm here to tell you that this is an important column, and I want to show you why. Go back to the assignments. Again, everything in this group called assignments, which is reflected in that column, is worth 100%. If you weight your grades, then you really want to hear this next part. Because if you weight your grades, if in your syllabus you say, homework is going to be worth 20%, my exams are going to be worth 30%, and you're going to have a big project that's worth 50% of your grade. How do you make Canvas figure this out for you? If you keep it this way, then you're going to have to figure that out on your own in an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. But I'm here to tell you that Canvas will figure this out for you if you create groups. So we have one default group called assignments. Everything's worth 100%. I want to weight my grades, so I need 2 more groups. So I'll add a group called exams, and I'll add a second group called project. And then my third group, I can change the name of this. If I go over here to these 3 dots, these 3 vertical dots, go to edit, I can change this. I can change any of these names at any time, really. You want to do it at the beginning, but I can change this to homework. Now I have 3 groups. All right, so let's go look at the gradebook. I've got the Zoom menu in my way here a little bit, so excuse my hesitation. Now I look at the gradebook after adding those 2 groups, and you'll see that I now have 3 groups. So now you can see clearly this column that was called assignments is now called homework, and that's what's happening here. I can't add anything in here. I can't do anything. This is all going to be based on what happens with the assignments within each of these groups. Okay, so let's go back. Now I want to weight them, okay, because right now they're equally weighted. And it can be very confusing if this is as far as you go. So the next step is all the way up here at the top of the assignments index page is this little set of menus. And you go to assignment groups, weight, and I say, yes, I would like to weight these. So here's where you put 20% for homework, 30% for exams, and 50% for a project. You want it to equal 100%. You save. And now these 3 groups are weighted. More importantly, if you go to your gradebook, I need to refresh. You can see now that these are also weighted. And so now Canvas is going to perform the operations that you need here for you. So this calculation, Canvas will take care of it. However, you do need to put your assignments into the correct groups. Okay, so wiki assignment, we're going to move that into project. That's going to be a project. Okay, and then we need some exams. Okay, so remember I told you that this area is your generic assignments, but you also have discussions and quizzes. So let's talk about these also. So we need an exam. We're going to go over here to quizzes. And what you're going to see here is that I have an exam, but I don't see that exam. So why don't I see that exam in my gradebook? The reason is because I've set these up and I have not told Canvas that I want them to be graded. And so Canvas has assumed that these 3 quizzes are all for practice, which is great. I mean, the idea that you can use the quiz tool for students to practice things is something to be celebrated. It means that you can use these tools for student engagement in a way that doesn't have a grade attached to them. All right. But we have a midterm and a final. Those are going to be graded. All right. So I'm going to open that up and you'll see this is the summary. I'll go to edit. And it looks familiar. There's more to it, but it's got the title, it has my instructions, and then it has all of my settings. Okay, so that's a similar setup. It's a little bit different because it is quizzes. The first thing that you see is quiz type, and you can see here that this has been selected as a practice quiz. So if we click on this, you see I also can make it graded. I can also do a graded survey. I'm just going to do a graded quiz. I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to go to my gradebook. I'm going to refresh it. And now it's in my gradebook. So you can see the connection between anything that's an assignment, which includes assignments, discussions, and quizzes. If you say that they're graded, you create them, they're going to turn up in your gradebook. Okay? There's another thing that might not be so obvious at first, but if you go into assignments, now that we've done that, it's also here on the assignments index page. And the reason that it's on the assignments index page, it's not a duplicate, it's the same exact midterm, but it shows up here on the assignments index page because the assignments index page is also a part of the gradebook. We created these 3 groups, we assigned a weight to them, And so in order for Canvas to do that calculation, we have to have this index page where we drag the midterm exam down to exams, put it in there, and now the midterm is going to be calculated at 30% of the final grade. So if we go into the grade book, I will refresh it, and we have Kathy Cassidy has done the midterm. She got a 75. And now you see that this grade is right in here and the total is right here. Now, if you want to, we'll do a little bit more with this so that you can see how it gets calculated automatically for you. Let's go back into the assignments. We'll go back to quizzes because we also have a final exam. So we'll go to the final exam. We'll basically just do this again so that you can see it. We're going to edit that. It's called practice, but it in fact is graded. So we'll go ahead and make it graded. I also want you to see, when I was talking about the assignments earlier, that there was this assignment group option. And at that time, we only had one group called assignments. And everything in that was worth 100%. So if I clicked on that, you wouldn't have seen anything. But now we have 3 groups. And so if you click on assignment group, you'll see, okay, now I have these 3 groups and I can put this exam into its correct group. So I'll select exams and then I'll save it. Now, if we go back to assignments, the assignments index page, you'll see that I have not only made it graded, which makes it show up here, but I put it in the right group. Okay, so Kathy Cassidy's final exam, or I'm sorry, the final exam in this group is worth 200 points. The midterm exam is worth 100 points. Final exam is worth twice as much as the midterm, and I've done that just with points. Okay, taken together, the exams are worth only up to 30% of the grade. If we go to the grade book, and we have the wiki assignment, hold on, the wiki assignment's not published. I need to go back, I'm going to publish this. This assignment is worth 50% of the total. So let's play a little bit here. And you guys can do this playing on your own as well, especially if you have a dev shell. We've got the final exam is worth 200. Okay, so let's give Kathy Cassidy a 100 on this. I'm sorry, 100 is a bad grade on a 200-point exam. 200, and her grade is bumped up quite a bit. It was a C before, but this final exam is worth twice as much as the midterm, and so she's in good shape again. Okay, and then we also see that, well, we could see how this could turn the wrong way because the wiki assignment is worth twice as much. So if she only got a B on the wiki assignment, her grade's going to go down. Okay, didn't go all the way down, she got a B, but because this is worth 50% of the grade, and as you can see, I didn't do any of that calculation. All right, so you will need to play with this a little bit to get used to it, but know that if you set it up, Canvas is going to take care of these calculations for you. And I have been working with this for years, and I can assure you that you can count on it. Okay, but you do have to create it. You have to assign the point value, or the weight rather, and then you have to make sure that the assignments are in the correct places in your folders. So one more thing, I told you about discussions also being an assignment. We'll go into discussions, and you can see here that I do have discussions, and that apparently none of them are graded because I don't see them in my gradebook and I don't see them on my assignments page. So there are going to be a lot of discussion type things. You want to use a discussion forum for things like course FAQs or introductions, things that you wouldn't grade, okay? By default, your discussions aren't graded. but you can make them graded. So I'll go over here to A2, this group discussion. It's going to be the same thing. When I click on edit, I'll have a title and I'll have a place where I can put my discussion prompt. And then beneath that are the settings. And if I make this assignment, this discussion graded, then you'll see that I have the ability to add points to it. I can make it worth 50 points. And I can put it in an assignment group. I'm just going to keep it here in the homework group. I'll save it. And first, I'll look at my assignments. And there's my discussion. Now that it's graded, it's part of this 20% group. And if you go to your gradebook, then you'll also see it right here. Okay, any questions about groups and how important they are to the structure of your gradebook?
There isn't a question about groups, but Jennifer did have a question about, do you have to manually enter grades?
No. Great question, and at the perfect time, because if there are no other questions about how you build your gradebook, assignments, the assignment index, then I can start to talk about grading, which is the next big step in gradebook.
No questions in the chat?
Okay, hearing none, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of time at the end. Hearing none, let's talk about grading, because you can come in here and enter grades this way. And if you do certain things, like if you're grading a presentation, for example, then you will come in here and enter grades this way. Just enter them manually right there. But you can also use Canvas's built-in function, which is SpeedGrader. And so let me see how I want it to start this conversation. Okay, one of the things in grading that is important for some, not for all, but for some, is rubrics. So if you use rubrics, like if you're doing essays and you create a rubric that tells students, this is how you're going to be graded, this is the set of criteria that I'm going to use to grade you, and this is how much each criterion is worth. If you use that, you can add them right here in your assignment on the individual assignment summary page. So I click on plus rubric, and here's where I build the rubric. And we don't have time today for me to build a rubric for you, but I will just quickly show you that you name the rubric. You have a criterion that you define. So it might be something like use of sources. And then you have the ratings. It gives you the top rating worth 5 points or however many points you put in here. And it gives you the bottom rating, 0 points. You can add ratings. This is going to be meets expectations. So you can add ratings, as much of a range as you want, okay? And then when you're done with a single criterion, you can copy it and you can build out a full rubric. We don't have time to do that today, so the other great thing about rubrics is that you can reuse rubrics. So I can use rubrics here in this course, but I can also use them in other courses. So when you reuse your rubric, you would go over here to find rubric, and you would look in the course where you had a rubric that you wanted to use. You'd find that rubric that you'd already built so that you don't have to rebuild it, and you would preview it. So here's a rubric for an essay, a 100-point essay. This looks good to me. I'll go ahead and use this rubric, and now it's on my page. My students can see it, and I'll be able to use it to grade. So that's the first thing in grading to know, is that Canvas offers you the ability to add rubrics. Okay. The second thing is, and I actually forgot to add a paper. So I'm going to have to submit a paper so that you can see the rest of it. So what I will do is go to the student view. Is this what I want to do? Yeah, I think this will work. So I'll go to student view. See this pink box around this? This tells you that I'm now looking at this assignment through the eyes of the student. Okay, so I'm going to have my student, when you use student view, you actually have a test student, so you can test things out and see how they work. I'm going to have my test student submit this assignment. So I will choose an assignment to submit. I'm going to look for A1 and hope that I have it out here. Give me A1. Well, I've got a lot of A1s. Okay. I'm going to submit this assignment. This is nice because you can see what your students see. So they have a file upload. I searched for the file, I found it. I could add more files if I'm a student. I could leave you comments. Here's my assignment. This is as a student, and then I submit the assignment. Okay, as a student, this is what I see. So this is, always use student view because it will help you see what your students see. If your student says, I'm not sure I submitted my assignment, I've heard that before, they should probably know whether or not they've submitted it. If you go look here, it says submitted, it gives a date. So maybe they didn't. So that's why using student view can be very important. All right, so I've submitted the assignment. I'll leave the student view. As the teacher, when I come in, actually to the home page, I see that on my to-do list, now that a student has submitted an assignment, I have this grade A1. If I click on this, I'm going to go directly to SpeedGrader. I don't want to do that yet because there are other options. So I'll go into my assignments. I'll go into assignment A1. And as the instructor, you can monitor. 0 out of 1 submissions is graded. If I have 20 students, I might want to wait a while until I've got 0 out of 20. Or I could grade as I go, but it's going to tell you, Canvas is going to tell you how many submissions you have that haven't been graded yet. When I get 20, or however many students I have, or whenever I want to start grading, I can download those submissions. So I don't have to use SpeedGrader. I can download them and I can enter the grades manually like I showed you before. I could download them and use Microsoft if I wanted to use track changes in Microsoft. If I'm more comfortable with that or some other grading program, I can do that. You download it. The big important thing about that is that you don't change the title of the assignment. So you don't append it with graded or something like that. You keep the title that Canvas gives you, because once you download them into a zip file that you can then open, then you'll want to re-upload them. And the only way that you can re-upload them is if they have the exact same name that Canvas gave them. Okay, and then you do that. So that's one way to grade. The other way is to use SpeedGrader. This is the built-in grading program. I'll click on SpeedGrader and it opens up for me right here. Okay, SpeedGrader is actually 2 programs. It's this blue bar all the way across the top and then this column down the right. That's SpeedGrader. In the center, this is called Doc Viewer, and that's why you have a separate menu and the document that you're viewing. This is the actual submission. Okay. This Doc Viewer has a bunch of tools that would allow you to make comments. So this is the first of 3 kinds of grading you can do using SpeedGrader. I can do in-text comments, can click on this, and I can comment about this area. Okay, I can do highlights, I can do drawings. There are a lot of different things that I can do here to leave students information in the actual document that you're grading. Okay, is feedback, super important, right? That's one. The second, if you have created a rubric, is within SpeedGrader, is to go to View Rubric. Now it splits this window, can be a little bit challenging to get it open. I always have trouble with this, but eventually I'm able to minimize my doc viewer. Sorry, I wish I had a key to how to do this easily. Minimize my doc viewer over here on the left and maximize my rubric so that I can look at what are the criteria that I've shared with my students. And then I can use this nifty auto grading tool right here. Now notice that I'm not only giving students points based on the rubric, which I can change. Maybe it's not 20 points, maybe it's more like 18 points on on the use of sources. I can also leave a comment. So I can say, good job, tighten up the APA style, because maybe they missed some things on APA style. So I could give them feedback on why they got 18 points, okay? So you do that all the way to the end. And then 80 out of 100, this is your rubric, you have to save it. If you don't save it, then it won't go to your students. So save the rubric. Now your students are going to get this feedback. So this is the second form of grading. It's very, very useful. The third form of grading is your final grade. You can set your rubric up so that it automatically puts 80 points here, but it doesn't matter one way or the other, whether it puts it in there automatically, you still have control. You always have control. I can give this student a 90 instead of an 80. Say they did 80 on the rubric points, but they did something else that really mattered to you. And so you're going to boost it up to 90. So that's your final grade right there. But you also can add a comment. So it's like in notes. So you can say, great job on this essay. This is a place, great job. This is a place for you to really provide feedback to your students. If you're teaching fully online, please take advantage of this and the other areas to connect with your student. I mean, it's the easiest, most obvious way for us to connect with our students, because this is where we're evaluating their performance. And so you really want to take advantage of this opportunity to reach out to them and let them know why they did a great job, why you thought they did a really good job here, or if they didn't, why they didn't, and how important it would be for them to get in touch with you so that you can talk it out. Always when you're grading, be sure to hit submit. The grade won't go to them until you hit submit. So I'll hit submit, and now when I go back to my gradebook, I'll have to refresh, and I'm dealing with that Zoom menu. I'll hit refresh, and now this student has this grade, okay? You can see what your students are seeing by clicking on Test Student. Okay, this shows you, this is called a context card that flies out, and it'll show you how your students are doing as you go. This is the gradebook management part. I'm not going to spend much time here, but know that the gradebook management course covers things like this card. If you want to see exactly what your students are seeing, you go to the grades button. Click on grades. Your student doesn't see a grid. Your student sees this chart with just their assignments, okay, and their grades. And notice the 3 ways of providing feedback are all right here. So your student can click on this, and they're going to get my in notes and when I left them. If I click on this little chart, this is the rubric, and it will show students how I did based on the rubric. And then this one shows the details of the assignments, of the assignment. And that's some learning analytics. Again, this is covered a little bit more detail in the management section. So that's how you grade. I will show you also quickly in SpeedGrader that there are a few other tools here that are related to grading, like your list of students. Okay, this is a list of students. You can move through your students one at a time, left to right, or you can select them. When a student's graded, there'll be a green check mark. When they're not graded, this shows that there's no assignment to grade, but if there is one, there'll be an orange circle there. You also have some stats that are running for you at the same time. 1 out of 4 students have been graded. It's the 3rd out of 4 students, and this is the average. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the 3rd out of 4. The one that was graded was the 4th out of 4 students. So this gives you a running average of how your students are doing. So that covers grading in a nutshell. I know it's very fast. I want to leave a few minutes for any questions that you might have.
And there's no questions in the chat, so if you'd like to unmute and ask your questions, please feel free.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was curious, when you're first learning Canvas, when did you start using it? Was this just last year that you started using Canvas?
Me or UNC?
Yes, UNC in general.
It's been 4 years.
Oh, okay. Okay, 4 years. All right. The gradebook, yeah, that's a little complicated. So yeah, I'm going to have to play around with that, I think, and really learn it. I'll pick it up. I'll pick it up as I go along now.
Again, that's why I'm so glad that you're here, because I'm hoping to help you get started in the right direction, because it is complicated and Canvas is so simple. It looks so simple, but in reality, there are a lot of things to know and understand. And so I'm really glad you're here. I encourage you to attend our other gradebook workshops, because I'll get more into managing the gradebook. And then the tips and tricks sort of, it's a review if you've done those, but with the context of, oh yeah, that's right, that's the way that works. I understand now why that works that way.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. Other questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
If we have a percentage applied to class participation and attendance, how do we fit that on the grid, or is it the assignment page, so that we can?
So you may want to create a different area for it. I weighted this as homework, exams, and project. If class participation fits into one of these, then you can have that, or you can create a group for class participation and attendance. There is an attendance tool. I don't want to cover that right now, but what you would do is change your weighting if you do this. So you can go up here to your weighting, and what percentage do you give to your students for class participation?
Like 10%.
Okay. So now you need to balance this out, right? So it's not 10% above 100. So maybe your project is worth 40.
Okay.
Okay. And now anything you put in here would be class participation. You could put the assignment or the attendance assignment in here if you're familiar with that, or you can just create an assignment and go to plus assignment and say class participation. Participation, and I can give it whatever points. It doesn't really matter because it's only going to be up to 10%.
Yeah.
So the points don't matter that much. Sometimes the points matter. The final exam being worth twice as much as the midterm matters, right? But now this is 10%. I need to go ahead and publish this assignment. And then when I go to the gradebook, oops, I'm sorry. I lost my tab. Just go to the grades area. You will now see that class participation is right there, and I can just enter the grade here. And
Right.
the grade
Okay.
will be calculated automatically for me.
Okay.
If I enter it here, it is only 10%, but it's all I have.
Right.
So I'm getting
Right.
it.
Right. Okay.
That's all I had to do.
Oh.
Okay, does that help? Okay. Any other questions?
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Thanks very much. I'll
Thanks.
email with questions.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
We're here for you.
Thanks.